You know, when you picture Kerala, it's almost always, well, serene, isn't it? Those amazing backwaters, the smell of spices, kathakali.
Yeah.
It's got this image. High literacy, culture.
It does. It's a place known for progress, really, on so many fronts, which makes this other reality quite jarring.
Totally jarring, because beneath that beautiful surface, there's this really troubling situation developing.
A serious challenge. And it seems to be growing fast. Drug abuse, it kind of forces you to look beyond the usual headlines, you know?
Absolutely. So let's put the travel guys aside for this deep dive. We're looking squarely at the rising drug problem in Kerala. We've gone through a lot of information to really understand the scope, the drivers, the impact.
Yeah, trying to get past the shock value and into the why and how, because it feels like it reflects some bigger shifts, maybe.
Okay, let's kick off with some figures, because these really, they really make you pause. In 2024, Kerala logged, get this, 27,701 cases under the NDPS Act.
27,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now think about Punjab for comparison. Same year, a state we often associate with drug issues, right? They had just over 9,000 cases.
That difference is huge. It really tells a story, doesn't it? Something significant is happening there.
It certainly does. And it's not just the number of cases, it's the type of drugs too, isn't it?
That's a crucial point. There's a very clear trend towards synthetics, MDMA, methamphetamine, these manufactured chemicals.
Which are often, well, stronger, more unpredictable than something like ganja.
Generally, yes. Higher potency, different risks, often higher costs too. It changes the whole landscape of use and addiction.
And Kerala isn't really making this stuff, right? It's mostly coming in from outside.
That's the picture, yeah. Primarily a consumer state. Drugs are smuggled in from big cities, Bengaluru, Chennai, Delhi, even Goa. And then there's the international angle.
Which brings us to the coastline. Beautiful, but also a vulnerability.
A massive vulnerability. It's long, hard to patrol effectively, especially, with limits on Coast Guard resources. So things slip through. It's a constant challenge.
Geography playing a big role then. And the demand inside Kerala must be strong enough to keep pulling that supply in.
Absolutely. The demand fuels the whole network. And the numbers for early 2025, they don't suggest things are slowing down.
No, quite the opposite. Just the first 3 months of 2025, you're looking at over 12,700 cases under this Operation P Hunt.
Yeah.
And seizures worth what? Around 12 crore rupees?
12 crore in 3 months. It's staggering.
And then there's a longer view, a 442% increase in NDPS cases over the last 15 years. 442%.
It averages out to about, 100 cases a day? Every single day.
It's hard to even process that level. What's driving that kind of acceleration, do you think?
It's likely a mix of things. The increased availability of these newer synthetics, for one. Maybe more sophisticated trafficking networks getting the stuff in. And perhaps, a shift in attitudes, maybe use becoming more normalized in some groups.
Yeah, it could be. And it's hitting young people, too. That's one of the most concerning parts.
Deeply concerning. The data shows minors getting caught up in this. In 2023, 63 boys under 18 linked to drug cases. By August 2024, another 39.
It's not just boys. We're seeing more women involved, too, apparently. Plus, certain areas seem to be real hotspots. Ernakulam district, particularly Kochi.
Yes, Kochi stands out. Over 8,500 NDPS cases there in just a year and a half. Urban centers often concentrate these issues, perhaps due to, easier access and maybe more anonymity.
But this isn't just statistics, is it? There are terrible real-world consequences, tragic stories.
Absolutely. We see reports linking substance abuse directly to violence. There was that case in Kozhikode, a young man allegedly committing homicide while under the influence of synthetics.
Horrific. And the person who died after swallowing MDMA trying to hide it from the police.
Yes, Shanid Salim. A desperate act highlighting the fear involved. And that other shocking incident, someone reportedly high on cannabis attacking 3 neighbors.
Bludgeoning them. It's brutal. It shows how impaired judgment can just spiral.
Exactly. Reduced impulse control, potential aggression. It's a dangerous mix. And a police study from early 2025 seemed to back this up, linking several murders or suspecting links to drug use. This idea of spontaneous murders possibly tied to substance abuse.
It paints a really dark picture. Even that case of trying to hide drugs internally, Ayadan Shanid.
Yeah.
It just speaks volumes about the desperation, doesn't it?
It does. The lengths people will go to, the risks they'll take. It underscores the immense pressure and the potential for just awful outcomes.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly to the youth aspect again, because the idea of drugs getting into schools and colleges, kids as young as 12 experimenting, That's incredibly worrying.
It really is. It suggests the problem is penetrating deep into the community. Schools should be safe havens, right?
Right. We heard from a counselor, Honey Mole KK, who works at a de-addiction center. She mentioned teachers are often the first to spot the signs.
Makes sense. They see the kids regularly.
And she listed reasons why kids get involved. Things like, well, the usual suspect, peer pressure, but also lack of awareness of the real dangers, maybe easy access now, issues at home, or weak parenting. And this is interesting, the way drugs are sometimes glorified in media.
That's a potent mix. Peer pressure is huge at that age. If they don't really grasp the risks, and the stuff is easy to get. Plus, if movies or social media make it look cool or rebellious.
Yeah. And apparently celebrity scandals involving drugs don't help either, possibly normalizing it.
It all contributes to shaping perception, unfortunately. And the way drugs are delivered is changing, too, becoming more, well, professional.
Seems like it. Not just secret meetings anymore. There are reports of superbikes being used for, like, door-to-door delivery service.
Wow, that implies a level of organization, doesn't it? Speed, efficiency. Treating it like a business, an illegal one, obviously.
What are the authorities doing? I mean, they must be aware of all this.
Oh, they are. The Kerala Police, the Excise Department, they're running operations. Operation D-Hunt, for example. They are making seizures, ganja, MDMA, you name it, and making arrests.
So there is enforcement happening.
Definitely. They're actively trying to disrupt things, seizing shipments, arresting dealers. It's an ongoing effort.
Does it feel like it's enough? Or is it more like that game, whack-a-mole? You hit one dealer, another pops up.
That's often the feeling, yes. Arrests happen, but the supply chain seems resilient. New players emerge quickly because the demand is still there. It's incredibly hard to dismantle these networks completely.
And a lot of the drugs come from outside Kerala, so they need cooperation with other states.
Social. They have set up coordination centers, apparently, sharing intelligence with neighboring states and union territories, which is good.
But maybe it needs to be more robust, more consistent.
That's likely the challenge. Building and sustaining effective interstate cooperation takes real commitment and resources. Drug trafficking doesn't respect borders, so the response has to cross them too.
It's quite telling, isn't it, that during things like the Lok Sabha polls, when security is really tight everywhere.
Ah, yes. The smuggling routes get disrupted temporarily.
Exactly. But as soon as those restrictions ease up.
The flow resumes. It really hammers home the point about demand, doesn't it? The underlying demand pulls the supply back in almost immediately.
Okay, so enforcement is one side. What about helping the people who are actually caught in addiction? What about rehabilitation?
Right, the treatment side. Kerala has the Vimukthi program. And the numbers seeking help there, especially minors, have shot up.
Shot up is right. A 422% increase in minors seeking treatment through Vimukthi between 2021 and 2024. That's huge.
It shows the scale of the need, certainly. The program is clearly facing immense pressure.
But is it equipped to handle it? We're hearing about limitations, like the centers in district hospitals often only have, what, 10 beds?
Yeah, capacity is a major issue. 10 beds isn't much when the problem is this widespread, and the focus seems to be mostly on short-term detox.
Which isn't the same as long-term rehabilitation, is it? Detox is just the first step.
Exactly. It's vital, but it doesn't address the psychological and social roots of addiction. Without that deeper, longer-term support, relapse rates can be very high. It's like putting a bandage on a serious wound without treating the infection underneath.
And then there are operational problems, too, like staff shortages.
Apparently so. The Ernakulam Vimukthi Center in Muvattupuzha was reportedly defunct because they couldn't get staff. Recruiting and keeping qualified doctors and counselors in this field seems to be a real struggle.
And that doctor transfer policy, moving them every 3 years, that can't help with building trust and continuity of care for patients, surely.
No, consistency is really important in addiction treatment. Building a relationship with a therapist or doctor is key. Frequent transfers disrupt that completely. These systemic issues really hamper effectiveness.
And we should remember, this lack of rehab facilities isn't unique to Kerala. It's a broader issue across India, right?
Yeah. Yes, a 2019 national survey pointed to a shortage pretty much everywhere. So Kerala's struggles fit into that larger picture, though the opposition there has criticized the government for not properly reviewing how well Vimukthi is actually working.
Which seems like a fair point if the program is facing these challenges. Now let's zoom out a bit. How does this affect families, society?
Oh, profoundly. Families often face huge emotional stress, financial strain, communication breaks down, and sometimes parents might not even realize there's a problem early on.
Why is that?
Well, one factor mentioned is the high rate of kids attending extra tuition classes, which, while aiming for academic success, might actually reduce family interaction time, making it harder to spot warning signs.
That's an interesting kind of sad side effect. And
Yep.
what about schools? We touched on it, but it sounds quite grim.
It does. If police were telling the High Court back in 2019 that schools were becoming hotbeds for peddlers, and things seem to have gotten worse.
Worse how?
Reports of students threatening teachers, attacks on police, drug-fueled fights between students. It's just a breakdown of safety and order within the school environment itself.
That's deeply unsettling. And then there's the wider culture. Do things like movies or social media play a role?
It's hard to ignore the potential influence. Violent films, certain social media trends, even video games. They can sometimes glamorize drug use or gang life, maybe unintentionally. For young people especially, that can be confusing or even attractive.
Making it seem cool or edgy.
Exactly, which is why media literacy is so important, and it's good to see other groups stepping in.
Like who?
Religious institutions, for instance, trying to offer positive alternative sports, arts programs to counter those negative influences. Community efforts are vital.
So, trying to pull it all together.
Right.
Why Kerala? Why is this crisis hitting there so hard? We've touched on a few things.
Yeah, it seems like a combination. Geography is one, that coastline proximity to smuggling hubs. Economics might play a part, maybe educated youth, but not enough jobs, leaving some with disposable income and time.
And maybe just global trends. The rise of synthetics is happening everywhere.
True. Kerala isn't immune to global patterns. But then there's the demand side again. What's driving individuals to use?
You mentioned things like hypermasculinity, maybe gang loyalty, wanting to project a certain lifestyle.
Yeah, those social pressures. The perceived coolness, sometimes associated with dealers or users in certain circles, maybe contrasting with more traditional paths. It's complex.
So if the problem is this complex, the solutions have to be too, right? What's being proposed?
Well, there's talk of a 5-point plan. It covers better awareness campaigns tailored to different groups, more resources for law enforcement, and better interstate work.
Okay.
Big improvements needed in rehabilitation, more capacity, longer-term focus, addressing those staffing issues, getting parents, schools, communities more involved, and trying to shift those cultural narratives around drug use.
Sounds comprehensive. Covers supply, demand, treatment, prevention.
On paper, yes. The challenge, as always, is implementation, making it happen effectively and consistently across the board.
It really feels like a critical moment for Kerala, doesn't it? A state known for so much good, facing this really serious internal threat.
It absolutely is. It's going to take a huge coordinated effort from everyone, government, police, health services, schools, families, the whole community, to turn this tide.
It really makes you think about that balance.
Yeah.
You know, enforcement is necessary, clearly. But how much focus needs to be on that versus, well, helping people break free from addiction? And how do you even start to change those underlying attitudes that might make drugs seem appealing in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Where do you put the resources, the emphasis? Is it stopping the supply, reducing the demand, treating the addiction? Probably you need all three working together. And changing culture. That's a long game, requiring sustained effort in education and promoting healthier alternatives.
Well, for anyone listening who might have information about drug crimes in Kerala, we should share those helpline numbers again. They are 99959666666 and 944-717-8000.
Yes, reporting any information can make a difference.
It feels like every little bit helps right now. It's definitely a cut situation, a huge challenge ahead for Kerala. But hopefully, with that kind of collective effort you mentioned, maybe real change is possible.
Let's hope so. Awareness, action, support, they're all crucial pieces of the puzzle in building a safer future there.